I'm Bill Mahoney.
And I'm Mark Patton.
And as part of UCSB's look back at the 35-year Thunderdome history, we're looking back at some of the great players who really made the Thunderdome. Today we're looking at UCSB men's basketball player Gary Gray, and his commemorative ticket says Beyond Tough. And I don't think you can emphasize that enough. He was beyond tough.
He was the LA City Player of the Year in high school, but I think was probably a little overweight at the time, and he came in here and they challenged him to get himself into great shape. And I don't think I've ever seen a Gaucho transform his body better than Gary Gray did.
Gary was a starter as a freshman on an 87-88 team that went to the NCAA tournament. In fact, secured UCSB's first NCAA tournament bid ever as an at-large team. Was teammates with some, Brian Shaw, Carrick DeHart, Eric MacArthur, but he was the workmanlike guy. He was the guy who he did the dirty work. He dove on the floor, he got rebounds, he could score a point here and there if he needed to. But by the time he was a junior, he was still starting on a team that went to the second round of the NCAA tournament, and suddenly he was averaging 13 points a game, and he was taking on some of the toughest players there were defensively. He really became a defensive stalwart for the Gauchos.
I think the one thing that I really remember about Gary Gray is him coming in Thunderdome early in the morning with Ben Howland and working on his little baby jump hook. And it was pretty much an automatic shot after maybe a sophomore year. And the other thing was the great screens he set. Nobody set a better pick than Gary Gray.
He also had a technique that he used, and it helped the Gauchos win a big game here against UNLV. In 1990. It was UNLV's last loss before they went on to win the national championship that year, and then they won their first 40 games the following year. But he mastered the art of interlocking his arms with an offensive player and having that player throw him off and getting called for the charge. I mean, I don't think anybody ever did that better.
Gary was a crafty player and a good student as well.
And he wound up averaging his senior year more than 16 points a game and was an all-conference player. So he evolved from being kind of a workhorse and workmanlike player to being just a very good basketball player and a key in the Thunderdome history. I'm Bill Mahoney along with Mark Patton, and we're talking Thunderdome 35.